The Black Death. Can you imagine a pandemic that killed half a continent? That's exactly what the Black Death did. One of the deadliest pandemics in human history, it appeared in the mid-14th century, specifically in 1347, and spread through Europe like wildfire. It was caused by a bacterium called Yersinia pestis, transmitted from fleas to humans via rats. But the most dangerous aspect was that it later evolved to affect the lungs and spread from person to person through respiration. Its symptoms? Painful, black swellings in the neck and underarms, high fever, and then death within days. In some cases, death occurred in just 24 hours. In less than 6 years, approximately 25 to 50 million people died in Europe alone, roughly a third to half of the population. But life after the plague was never the same. The number of workers decreased, so wages increased, and the entire social system changed. The first concepts of quarantine emerged when ships were isolated for 40 days, hence the word quarantine. Smallpox, one of the oldest and most dangerous epidemics known to humankind, and the only disease the world has managed to completely eradicate. Its symptoms were terrifying. High fever, headache, then a rash that turned into pus-filled blisters, leaving permanent scars that could lead to blindness or death. Smallpox struck mercilessly at times, with mortality rates reaching 30%, especially among children. It spread across all continents and was responsible for the deaths of hundreds of millions of people throughout history. However, in 1796, a turning point occurred when the English physician Edward Jenner developed the first vaccine against smallpox, using a similar virus found in cows. Gradually, the world began using vaccination to combat the disease, and after extensive campaigns by the World Health Organization, smallpox was officially declared eradicated in 1980. Cholera is a serious epidemic disease that has always thrived in areas plagued by poverty, famine, and war. It is transmitted through water or food contaminated with a bacterium called Vibrio cholerae. In 1817, the first recorded epidemic appeared in India, and it didn't stop there. It spread like wildfire to Asia, the Middle East, Europe, and even America. The world subsequently witnessed 7 major epidemics, known as the 7 cholera pandemics. Each time the disease returned with greater force, leaving thousands of victims in its wake. The most dangerous aspect of cholera is not the infection itself, but the rapid dehydration resulting from severe diarrhea. In the 19th century, a person could die within hours, especially in overcrowded cities lacking sanitation. For this reason, cholera became a terrifying symbol of an era devoid of clean water and modern medicine. AIDS, a disease that has changed the world since its emergence in the early 1980s. It was first discovered in 1981, when doctors began to notice the collapse of the immune system in some patients without a clear cause. The cause of the disease is the human immunodeficiency virus, known as HIV, a virus that attacks the cells of the immune system and gradually weakens them until the body becomes unable to fight off even the simplest diseases. The virus is transmitted through blood and from mother to child during childbirth or breastfeeding. What makes AIDS different from many epidemics is that it was not directly fatal, but rather made a person susceptible to any infection or even a minor illness that could lead to death. In its early stages, it was accompanied by intense fear, discrimination against those infected, and ignorance about how it is transmitted. However, with the advancement of science, the picture began to change. To date, the virus has infected more than 85 million people and caused more than 43 million deaths worldwide. Coronavirus, the pandemic that brought the world to a standstill. It all began in late 2019 when cases of mysterious respiratory inflammation appeared in the Chinese city of Wuhan. It wasn't long before it became clear that the cause was a new virus from the coronavirus family. In March 2020, the World Health Organization declared the virus a global pandemic. The infection spread very rapidly. In just a few weeks, cities were shut down, schools, planes, and even stadiums were closed. Symptoms of the virus varied, including fever, cough, shortness of breath, and loss of smell. However, the most dangerous aspect was that some infected individuals showed no symptoms and transmitted the disease unknowingly. To date, more than 700 million people have been infected, and millions have died worldwide. However, due to varying methods of recording deaths, some estimate the true number to be over 20 million. The world entered a race against time to develop a vaccine, and in less than a year, several vaccines were developed, significantly reducing the death toll. The Spanish flu, a pandemic that swept the world in 1918 at the end of World War I, it was unlike any influenza humanity had ever known. It infected more than 500 million people worldwide, equivalent to a third of the world's population at the time. What made this pandemic terrifying was its speed and severity. Unlike the common flu, which killed healthy young people, the Spanish flu didn't just target the elderly or those with underlying health conditions. People would fall ill in the morning and die the same day. Some would even bleed from their noses or ears before dying, in horrific scenes. Estimates of the death toll ranged from 20 to 100 million. The exact figures are unknown, but what is certain is that this pandemic was one of the deadliest disasters in human history. The cause was the H1N1 virus, and there were no antibiotics or vaccines available. The only reliance was on isolation, masks, and school closures.